So can Cameco absolutely skyrocket and provide life-changing returns? And by life-changing, I mean 10x or 100x, right? Normally we focus on the undiscovered smaller cap assets. The market cap of Cameco is currently $25 billion. So can it 10x to a $250 billion market cap and become the ExxonMobil of the uranium world, right? We know uranium is the new oil. So the more uranium that these companies control, the more valuable they are. So let's dive into the fundamentals of this asset, right? Its earnings per share is 18 cents. So it's making some money, and its forward dividend yield is 0.2%. So one of the rare uranium miners that actually is generating enough cash flow to pay their shareholders some passive income. That is very, 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 very positive for this asset, especially if we're in the early stages of a mega trend and that passive income increases over time as the company grows, right? That's pretty huge. So can it provide life-changing returns? Well, it already has been providing life-changing returns since 2020. It was literally $8 in 2020. Now it's $60, right? So let's see if it can do another 10x from here. So this is what Cameco does. It has 3 tier 1 uranium operations. It owns 54.5% of Cigar Lake in Canada. This is the world's highest grade uranium mine, licensed capacity of 18 million pounds per year at $100 per pound. That's $1.8 billion in revenue just from this one mine. But again, they only own half of it. So it's still like $900 million per year. And obviously growing as the price per pound goes up. They own 69.5% of McArthur River, Key Lake, 83% up in Canada as well. The world's largest high-grade uranium mine/mill, licensed capacity, 25 million pounds per year, right? So billions and billions and billions of dollars of revenue from their mines. Inkai in Kazakhstan, they own 40%, a significant low-cost source of uranium, 10 million pounds per year, right? So they're the second biggest uranium producer on the planet, cash flowing heavily. Then they also provide fuel services, right? They own 100% of the Blind River Refinery, which is the world's largest commercial uranium refinery. They own 100% of the Port Hope conversion facility, Canada's only uranium conversion facility, and they own Cameco Fuel Manufacturing, which manufactures fuel bundles and reactor components for CANDU heavy water reactors, right? They're not just miners. This is massive. They're providing critical infrastructure for the nuclear industry, which is in the early stages of a nuclear renaissance, right? Then they just bought 49% of Westinghouse Electric Company, right? This is a provider of mission critical and specialized technology products and services across the nuclear power sector, right? So Westinghouse builds nuclear power plants. So they're also in the nuclear power plant business. So they're a diversified play on the nuclear renaissance. Then they own Global Laser Enrichment, right? Developing and testing 3rd generation laser enrichment technology. We talked about how ASP Isotopes is doing the same thing, right? They're trying to efficiently enrich uranium, which we're heavily dependent on Russia to do. And so this solves a major problem, right? So they're competing with ASP Isotopes, which I covered in a previous video. They're just huge. That Cameco, which is a multi-billion-dollar company, is also in that space. Very positive, right? And then on top of all that, they have tier 2 uranium assets, advanced projects, and exploration properties, right? They have 100% of Rabbit Lake in Saskatchewan, 100% of U.S. ISR operations in Nebraska and Wyoming, right? So they have U.S. properties as well. They own 70% of Millennium in Saskatchewan. They own 100% of Yeelary in Western Australia, 100% of Kintyre in Western Australia, and 100% of Athabasca Basin exploration, 650,000 hectares, right? So they're diversified across the globe with properties in the best jurisdictions on the planet. And so this company controls an ocean of uranium underground. Why is that exciting? Because according to this company, these are the supply-demand fundamentals of uranium, right? Right now, we're in the year 2024. What happens after the year 2024? All known global supply of uranium falls off a cliff and demand skyrockets upward. So we're talking a multi-decade supply crunch ahead of us. And this company controls an ocean of this very valuable resource, right? Just a massive company, right? So what is the future for this company, right? Cameco is saying they have average committed sales of 29 million pounds per year for 2024 to 2028. That's $3 billion of revenue. This is a multi-billion dollar company, right? Massive. Commitments span more than a decade. And they have long-term contracts for 205 million pounds per year, right? This is just a true powerhouse in the world of uranium. They have a strong balance sheet and position to self-manage risk. We'll dive into their balance sheet, right? We want way more assets than liabilities. Stronger the balance sheet, the more options they have in the future, the more assets they can acquire and become that ExxonMobil of the future, which just gobbles up a whole bunch of uranium companies, or become the Standard Oil of the future, right? How did John D. Rockefeller get filthy rich? By owning Standard Oil, which was a monopoly in the oil space. Cameco is not likely to become a monopoly, but they have the resources and the leverage to acquire a massive amount of high quality assets and become that ExxonMobil, right? So looking more and more likely that it can 10x to become a multiple $100 billion asset. Financial strength, liquidity. They're saying they have $197 million in cash. That's a lot. And they're saying they have a $1 billion undrawn credit facility, right? They have total debt of about $1.3 billion, but a huge amount of assets, which should offset that. Again, we'll take a look at their balance sheet. And this is how much uranium Cameco has exposure to, right? 409 million pounds of measured and indicated resources, 485 million pounds of proven and probable reserves, 153 million pounds of inferred resources. So this is an ocean of scarce uranium that this company has exposure to, right? Almost 1 billion pounds of uranium, in theory, they have access to. 1 billion times 100 is $100 billion worth of uranium, potentially. And this is where the company gets really exciting, because on top of their bullish fundamentals for all the uranium they have exposure to, they're expanding into a revolutionary new, brand new growth industry, right? They own 49% of Westinghouse, which is a full suite portfolio of nuclear technology and services, right? So part of what they do is develop and deploy leading carbon-free technology. They're designing and building an AP1000 reactor, an AP300 SMR, small modular reactor, energy storage, EV micro reactor, provide carbon-free advanced reactor technologies that enable the flex load, carbon-free grid of the future to commercial and government clients, right? Westinghouse is a massive company. Here's just two examples of the global scale of Westinghouse. Westinghouse and the massive company Hyundai team up for Nordic New Build. Westinghouse Electric Company of the USA and Hyundai Engineering and Construction of South Korea have signed a teaming agreement to pursue AP1000 technology opportunities in Sweden and Finland. Again, the small modular reactor business is brand new, and Cameco has exposure to Westinghouse, which has exposure to massive global partnerships. Westinghouse and Core Power partner for floating nuclear power plants using eVinci micro reactors, right? So it's backed by the multi-billion dollar company Cameco. It's a global asset, big partnerships. That's just scratching the surface of how massive Westinghouse is, right? And again, how massive Cameco is, huge. Now, speaking of future industries and revolutionary technology, Cameco is also in the global laser enrichment space, right? Again, so is ASPI Isotopes, which I covered in a separate video. This is what global laser enrichment does. GLE is the exclusive worldwide licensee of the proprietary separation of isotopes by laser excitation technology. Cameco is the commercial lead for GLE with a 49% interest. GLE could offer re-enrichment of depleted U.S. Department of Energy tails to natural UF6, right? Low enrichment uranium for existing and future light water reactors, including low enriched uranium based SMRs. High assay low enriched uranium for advanced reactor designs, right? So this is taking raw uranium and enriching it, right? Or it could potentially take uranium waste and enrich it. It's incredibly valuable, and Cameco has deep pockets to scale this technology. Turning nuclear waste into enriched uranium solves a massive problem, right? We know how scarce nuclear fuel is, and we know we're in a multi-decade supply crunch in uranium. So Cameco has the technology to enrich the fuel needed to power the nuclear renaissance. So let's take a look at their financials, right? Over the last 12 months, total revenue, $2.8 billion, right? So something like $3 billion a year. Cost of revenue, $2 billion. Total gross profit, $700 million. Now, as the price of uranium rises, all that goes up, right? So they become a cash cow to fund future growth and other businesses and acquisition of other mines. So much leverage, so many opportunities. as the nuclear renaissance unfolds, very few companies are in a position like this. Hugely bullish fundamentals. Operating expenses of $300 million, operating income of $349 million a year. So a true cash cow, profitable business, right? Just getting started in the early stages of a mega trend, right?
So let's look at Cameco's most recent balance sheet as of 9/30/2024. Total assets $9.3 billion, total liabilities $3 billion, right? So their assets easily cover their liabilities. Current assets $1.5 billion, current liabilities $500 billion, right? Clean, beautiful, pristine balance sheet, lots of options, lots of potential acquisitions, lots of future growth ahead.
Obviously, they can issue shares into this market and raise capital very, very easily. Let's take a look at if they have been issuing shares, right? Let's look at their cash flow statement. Common stock issuance, $19 million. They actually haven't been raising capital from issuing shares, right? Issuing shares can be risky because it can dilute shareholders, but they have been getting financing via long-term debt. So the bottom line is they do have some debt, but they have enough assets to cover that debt. They have growing revenues, and they have plenty of financial leverage, right? They can issue shares, they can issue more debt. So I could see an argument for going all in on this asset, not financial advice, because the passive income will grow over time as their dividends grow over time, as their cash flow grows over time, as they become that future ExxonMobil. This is a very high quality asset that can absolutely 10x, right? It can be, or more, it can become the ExxonMobil, and it probably will become the ExxonMobil of uranium. It is so well positioned to take advantage of every aspect of the nuclear renaissance, right? Small modular reactors and laser uranium enrichment technology. So we're just gonna have to stay on top of this asset and many other assets in this space.